if you want. And we are live here at 2025 Whitman Baltimore Winter Expo, and we have our very first guest. I am privileged to introduce are you president
of
Kagin's?
Kagin's? Yeah.
Yes, the president of Kagin's, Mr. Donald Kagin, legend in numismatics. Welcome to the Coin Show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
So, Dr. Kagin, excuse me, I'm sorry. We'll get that right.
Worked hard for it.
PhD, that's right.
Aren't you one of the very few people in the whole industry that has a PhD in numismatics?
In the United States.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that has a PhD. There's another person that has a BA also here in the United States. But in Europe, there are doctors of numismatics.
Did you not develop the program for the United States numismatic? Okay.
I did. It was the BA degree from Northwestern University, which I received in 1972.
Fine school.
Was something that I put together, but they had a program called ad hoc majors, and you could create your own major provided you could find professors who are willing to mentor you. The same kind of situation occurred for my doctorate. And that's very relevant because that's what the origins of the book is that we're talking about here today. And that was a program that you had to prove that you couldn't get your doctorate anywhere else. The philosophy was it was a university without walls, that you don't have to restrict yourself for your committee and the people to teach you within the confines of four walls. That in fact, that you could go to the top people in the world to teach you what you wanted to know. So I had Walter Breen and Dr. Douglas Ball and a few other people who were quite knowledgeable in numismatics mentor me as part of my program. So, and we'll talk a little bit, I suppose, about my doctoral dissertation, which led to this book.
Well, one of the things that I noticed in doing a little bit of research on you was that you have had some of the just absolute monsters of numismatics work in your shop. So Ken Brissett worked there.
Yes.
And Fold worked there.
George Fold.
Fold. And several other really notable names. How does one come about, bringing a Ken Brissett on board? How do you do stuff like that?
Well, many people don't know, and we kept it a secret for many years, that I was in Des Moines, Iowa. I worked for my father and uncle. And Ken Brissett was in Racine, Wisconsin, which is where Whitman was, right? And every year they gather information from specialists in every field to figure out what the next value is going to be for the next year book on Whitman Red Book.
Mm-hmm.
And he would have, he liked what I suggested in a few areas of numismatics, and asked me if I would come and join him and his son, who did a lot of some of the research, and help come up with the right numbers for the next year. So I was privileged to do that for several years. And then 1980, 79, 80, we had a coin boom, not unlike, to a certain respect, the run-up in gold that we've had recently, but it was for the whole industry. And I needed somebody to really help me. We are also just getting ready for grading by numbers and using the Sheldon system of 70. We didn't have an agreed upon grading system at the time. And Ken Brissett helped put together the ANA annex system soon after, and we got to talking about that. And then I said, I need somebody. I need somebody very, very good to help me in my business. And I asked Ken, and Ken moved to Des Moines, Iowa, and worked for me, and that worked out real well. And then he ran Annex in Colorado Springs for the A&A. And then George Fold, I was in the auction business too. So both of those people, including Walter Breen, actually helped me catalog auctions for Kagins for many years. And, I just have the philosophy that, in the coin business, you want to buy the best you can.
Mhm.
And even if you pay a little bit more than you should, usually somebody comes along and says they'll buy it too. It's always pays to buy the best. So I figured the same thing. It always pays to have the best people working for you and working with you. It's more working with you.
Yeah.
These people knew a lot more than I do. And the latest person for 20 some years, almost 25 years, is David McCarthy, who actually is my co-author on the latest edition of my book on Pioneer Gold.
Yep.
David's as good as there is out there. I think I can say that objectively as well as subjectively.
I think many people would agree with you.
And he can run rings around me, but don't tell anybody. People still think I know.
We won't tell us all, I promise.
David is something special.
Yeah,
He is.
well, you'll have a chance to talk to him later.
So we are here to talk about your new book.
Yes. Well, the origins, as I told you, was my doctoral dissertation. There was no reference work in 1974 when I embarked upon the reference book on Pioneer Gold. There was no reference book. There was comprehensive. There's one on California that had been done in the early 20th century, and there was one on Colorado, and a pamphlet and auction catalog on Beckler coins, but nothing to encompass the whole series of privately issued coins, rare coins. So I turned to my father and says, I want to create a book about this. He said, you go ahead. And so I started the research, and we bought a collection called the Clifford Collection that became Kagin Clifford Collection, largest collection of Pioneer Gold put together. But that came a few years later. And I started working on. Then an opportunity came along, and Dad says, you have a BA degree now in numismatics. Why don't you get a PhD? I said, oh, no, there is no such thing. And he said, well, how do you know? So I went to the people that produces the the SAT tests, and they told me that there was one university that would allow me if I could get in. And I got into the program proving, and I told them, obviously about my interest in the Pioneer Gold. And that's where the origins of writing this book on Pioneer Gold.
And how old were you at that time?
So I was 26.
So just last year.
25 when I started. And I graduated in 79, and the book was published in 81. And this is what the book looked like.
Okay.
And it was, and I'm proud to say that they still use the Kagin numbers as references when you're cataloging. So that was fun, interesting, the hardest thing I ever did.
And that is your dissertation?
Yeah, this was my doctoral dissertation. They called it the Project Demonstrating Excellence. So that's what I did. So, and one thing led to another. I'm running a company. I didn't have time to update it 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Finally, about 6 years ago, I turned to David, who now knew probably more, and he has a photographic memory. So he also adopted Pioneer Gold as one of his favorite series. I said, a lot of things have happened. A lot of things have developed. We need to put out an updated edition. And we thought it would just take too long to do one. This first one has not only the coins, the gold coins that were issued, but the patterns and restrikes and a lot of those things. And some of the coins have been discredited. They were perpetrated as a fraud on our industry that David helped discover that some of these coins were fake. So we really needed to change the book, and we didn't have time to do the whole thing. So we decided, let's do a book just on the gold.
Okay.
Right. And so that's the most popular, of course, more than the patterns and the restrikes. And so then we decided it should be a coffee table book, something really beautiful. And so 6 years ago, I think we started updating my book and the stories and the coins. And one of the hardest things is finding the images, because on the plate coins for your book, you want the finest examples. So we spent about 3 years developing this book.
And so you found the images.
Yeah. Well, all those years since 1974, I've been trying to keep images or recording the data for where the finest coins are in this series.
Okay.
So together we put this together, and we came out with this about 3 years ago. But there's no pricing in this book. It's intended to be timeless, not timely. So during that period of time, I did talk to Whitman, people at Whitman Publishing, before it was sold, about doing a series. And David Bowers, who had done a fabulous a book on treasure of the shipwreck of the SS Central America, had put a lot of information forward in that book, and was probably was working on one of the series of the Red Book series for Pioneer, but hadn't gotten to it.
Because I think a lot of people don't know, but there was quite a bit of Pioneer gold on the Central America. Yeah, and that was a treasure trove of information almost, really, when they found it, more than just the treasure itself.
Yes, we got a pretty good idea, but we kind of knew what the populations were, and they kind of followed, although there was a couple of series that there are more than others. So remember that SS Central America went down in 1857, and so the gold rush started. They started issuing Pioneer Gold 1849, actually December of 48 with the Mormons. So so there weren't a lot of those really early issues, but the later issues there were a lot, and the series, Whitman had started the Red Book series. So and Dave Bowers had done a fabulous job of really comprehensively deep diving into all the different series of American coins. Started working on this. We talked about it. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to continue working on the series. So Whitman asked David and I, or asked me, and I asked David. Well, they asked both of us because we had just written this book, the big one. So to update this, so this has actually been updated a bit from to do the Red Book one, and then the Whitman people. We consulted with the Whitman people on pricing.
Okay.
So this is a price guide and all the information that's in the updated book on Pioneer Gold.
Okay. So it's the reference, it seems.
It is, and presumably it'll be changed every year. And also now that Whitman owns not only the Red Book, but this Red Book series, that they coordinate the pricing.
Sure.
So now we have a settled idea of pricing. Everything's different, and one thing to remember, especially with Pioneer Gold, is no two coins are the same. They're in the hinterland when they're issuing these coins during the gold rushes. They don't have the kind of equipment that the U.S. government has. So there's a lot of nuances in the grading of these coins. So that has to be taken into consideration.
I can see where quality might be an issue in, the non-government mints.
Yes. So to find a high quality, a mint state Pioneer Gold coin is quite rare. I mean, the coins themselves are rare, but and probably it is by far the rarest series of numismatic material, series of coins to acquire.
Sure.
It's quite a challenge to put together, but you can put together a typeset. I've developed a 11-piece and 13-piece typeset that people can purchase because these coins have a story. I mean, silver dollars, Morgan dollars, they're the most popular silver issue. But to me, they all look the same, pretty much.
I hear that a lot. People say they're boring coins that just don't do anything for them.
But look at these.
Yeah, the example of just on the cover shows you that there's a variety of stuff. They are
so interesting, and there's such a variety and historical.
Yes.
There's some of the great, interesting series. So if you can afford it, you should get one, especially maybe a $50 gold piece, which epitomizes the whole series. I mean, it was the largest denomination ever struck by a government.
They're very scarce coins too. I've been doing this professionally for 20 years now, and I've owned a handful over the last 20 years as just a general coin shop guy that does the show circuit as well. They're out there, but boy, do they!
You don't see them.
You have
often.
to hunt for them. If they're for you, they're not something that just pops up at your local coin show.
And I will tell you that even if you can't afford to buy a $50 gold piece, the books themselves are great because you can explore the world of it without having to make the investment. You can learn about it and you can learn to appreciate it. And then maybe you can kind of squeeze your way into something that might be personally really satisfying for you.
Indeed. I mean, I said that one of the reasons I developed the book on Pioneer Gold, because there wasn't one. However, I couldn't find any series that is more fascinating, interesting, romantic, and tells our nation's story than Pioneer Gold coins.
That's a very good point.
And by the way, we call them Pioneer Gold coins because the pioneers are the ones that struck them.
Yes.
But somehow 70 years ago or so, people started using the word territorial. But that's a misnomer. California, which has most of these coins, it was never a territory.
Right.
And some of the other people that venues where coins were struck by privately issued they were.
And what about the Mormon gold? Where does that fit?
Exactly. Same thing. So we call them Pioneer Gold because that's kind of a cool name.
And it fits.
But technically, they're privately issued coins promulgated as a result of the gold rushes. And we had 3.
Yes. People don't forget about the ones in the East.
Well, there was one in Southern Appalachia in 1830. And as a matter of fact, one of the most prolific coiners of the California gold rush, John Little Moffat, had actually worked those gold fields in Carolina and Georgia. But that was in 1830. But that was so much smaller than the California gold rush. It was $600 million worth of coins. That it pales in comparison. And then, of course, you have the Pikes Peak or Bust Colorado gold rush in 1860, and that's all part of this, as well as the Brasher de Bloom, which was the first privately issued gold coin in America.
Yeah, that coin's kind of an outlier in the privately issued coin. There wasn't much that happened elsewise around that period.
That's right, but technically it belongs in it in the series because it is privately issued coins, and that's the name and the.
Well, if you guys would like to get a copy of the book, you can pop right on over to Whitman.com. You can see it here. And if you guys use our exclusive coupon code, The Coin Show, they give you a little discount on that book. So we really appreciate you coming and talking with us today about your book. And
we'd love to have you back sometime.
Love to have you back at any time.
I'm happy to share the knowledge and experiences that I've had involved. And I guess 60 years in numismatics.
Wow.
Well, we've got to tap that. That's the whole idea. Is we have to make the information flow from one place to another and from one generation to another. That's kind of the idea.
Yeah, and I've been working. I've been working for Whitman off and on since those 1970. 76, I think that's when Ken asked me to come and help Whitman out in 75, 76. So, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Indeed it is. And some numismatic legends have crossed your threshold.
Indeed they have.
And another numismatic legend. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Donald Kagin. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.